All right, so let's take a look at this interview on MSNBC between Mehdi Hasan and Russell. What was the name? I forget the guy's name who he's interviewing.
I have it. Mark Regev.
Mark Regev. Okay, perfect. So obviously we know Mehdi Hasan had his show canceled by MSNBC, and this was an interview from November 16th, which could be part of the reason why his show is no more. Here he is challenging Mark Regev.
Children with my own lying eyes being pulled.
I'm sorry.
I have seen lots of children with my own lying eyes being pulled from the rubble.
Because they're the pictures Hamas wants you to see. Exactly my point, Mehdi. They're the pictures Hamas wants.
There are also people that your government has killed. You accept that, right? You've killed children, or do you deny that?
No, I do not. I do not. I do not. First of all, you don't know how those people died, those children.
Oh, wow.
First of all, we don't want to see a single child killed.
Okay, here's my question for you, Mark. You say, I agree with you. I agree with you. We shouldn't blindly believe anything Hamas says. But why should we believe what your government says either? Your military spokesman on Monday pointed to an Arabic document in the basement of a Gaza hospital and claimed it was a Guardian list on which every terrorist writes his name. But that was false. It was just a calendar with the days of the week on it. Your colleague in the Prime Minister's office, Ophir Gendelman, posted behind-the-scenes footage from a Lebanese short film and claimed it was Palestinians in Gaza faking their own injuries. That tweet is still up a week later. That is endless disinformation from your government, is it not? So I have a simple question for you. If Hamas gunmen were hiding out in a school in Tel Aviv or an apartment block in Haifa, would you be okay with the Israeli Air Force dropping bombs on those buildings, leveling them, killing the innocent Israelis inside in order to get the Hamas gunmen? Would you do that?
But you're right in your question. Of course, Hamas hides behind students and children. That's their whole policy. That's why we've had the casualties we've had. Hamas deliberately embeds itself, as you said in your question, amongst civilians. The fact that they buried themselves under the Shifa hospital in Gaza City, not one hospital, but a whole series of hospitals. They
Mark,
took
with respect,
over
you're not answering
and
my
they turned
question.
them into military installations.
Would you bomb?
I am answering your question.
Would you bomb schools?
So as Russell said in the past, this is like that style of interviewing Matt Taibbi, just railroading the guests, just speaking through them, but actually used the way a journalist trying to get facts might use them, rather than a journalist trying to spin a bullshit narrative might use them the way he used them against Matt Taibbi and so many others.
Right. I mean, that's what's so remarkable about this. It's just like, wow. What if he were this person all the time? He would be like the best we have. He would be the best we have. And,
right, because he has the skill set. He just doesn't have the principle.
He just uses it for evil.
Exactly.
Would you bomb schools and houses in Israel if Hamas militants were believed to be under them and kill Israeli human shields in the process?
We don't deliberately kill anyone. That's not a fair question. What we are trying to do is eliminate this threat.
Would you accidentally kill Israeli human shields? I'm asking a very simple question.
We wouldn't want to accidentally kill anyone. We wouldn't accidentally, no, we wouldn't accidentally want to kill anyone.
Last question for you. You've got ministers in your government, I have to ask this question. Amichai Eliyahu, who said Israel should consider dropping a nuclear bomb on Gaza, which would kill over 2 million people. He's still in your government. Avi Dichter, another member of your government, went on TV and said this is Gaza Nakba 2023. And your boss, Benjamin Netanyahu, invoked Amalek, which was a biblical call for killing every man, woman, and child. Mark, do you understand why that cannot be heard as anything other than calls for genocide or ethnic cleansing around the world?
So will you allow me to answer?
Of course.
Number one, that minister was reprimanded by the Prime Minister, Eliyahu, and he was told very forthrightly he's suspended from the government, and if he makes any statements like that again, he's fired. On the Avi Dichter, I think I actually agree with what he said. The Nakba, the tragedy that was brought upon the Palestinians in 1947-48 was because of an extreme irresponsible leadership that wasn't willing to compromise. And Hamas is doing the same thing to Palestinians in Gaza. And if they are creating a catastrophe, it's because of...
The tragedy of the Nakba was because the people who didn't want to leave their homes weren't willing to compromise. We showed up, we said, hey, actually, the Bible says this land is ours, and you have to leave. And they wouldn't work with us on that. They weren't willing to compromise on that. Wow.
Hi. Yeah, I'm with the Zionist Central Committee. I want to read you this Bible verse because it says clearly right here, your house belongs to us. So you're going to have to leave. I'm really sorry about that. And they just didn't find that a compelling argument. That is fucking amazing. Like, that's a new one. And we've heard a lot of crazy shit from these Zionists over the last couple months. That, wow, they brought the Nakba on themselves because they were unreasonable. Unreal.
And on the third point, Amalek was known in Jewish history, and I'm sure you know this, that they attacked from behind. They killed the women and the children and the people who were sick, who couldn't walk quickly. That's why Amalek is in the Bible, is so condemned, because they attacked the innocent. No, I know my, don't tell me I don't know my Jewish history. I know my Jewish history.
Go and attack the Amalekites. Do not spare them. Put to death men, women, and children. Is that what you're doing in Gaza? That's what the Prime Minister invoked.
No. He was describing, first of all, no one in Israel is calling for women and children to be killed. On the contrary. How can you say
your heritage minister did. Really... He said nuke Gaza.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So that was just full disclosure. Russ did kind of a supercut of the highlights of that interview. So if there were some awkward cuts in there, that's why. But yeah, I mean, that could certainly have something to do with his departure, because it's one thing to bring someone on as a guest. It's another thing to give them a show. You bring someone on as a guest, they're dealing with whoever show it is has their own producer and their own team. They curate the content and you give commentary. That's not to say no segments with guests can be guided by the guest, but it's much different from Mehdi saying, hey, I want to interview this guy. I want to ask him these questions. Have these graphics ready to go because we're going to nail him on this, this, and this.
Right.
That may be too hot for MSNBC. I think that's a sound theory. Obviously, it's all speculation. We don't know. But is it a coincidence that an interview like that airs 2 weeks before they say, hey, you know what? We're going to have to keep this guy on as a guest contributor from time to time. We can't trust him with an hour a week.
Yeah, that was a point that Crystal made when they first pulled them all off the air, when they pulled all the Muslims off the air. She said it's very different being a guest. You don't have the control that you have as a host to dictate the segments and the flow of the segments. I think what happened, and you're right, we'll never know, or probably we will know.
We might know at some point. We just don't know now.
Somebody's going to spill the beans. Some insider is going to talk about what actually happened. They just went ahead and pulled the Muslims off the air. And because, like many other institutions, they just haven't known what to do given the cognitive dissonance between the quote-unquote woke branding they've been pushing for all these years and pulling all these Muslims off the air as soon as a war broke out in the Middle East. So I think they panicked and put them back on. And then they saw what that was going to look like and took them back off.
Please clap.